In this video, I'm going to show you how to start a new project with SmartPLS 4. So, as you might suspect, go to the top left and click on New Project. You could also go to Files and select New Project. Now, there are three other types of specific projects which we could also select. I'll look at those in more detail in a different video. For now, I'm just going to click on the icon New Project. It wants me to name the project YouTube Tutorials. Hit Create. And now you'll see on the left we have a new project called YouTube Tutorials. Let me zoom in. And the first thing we need to do is connect a data set to this project and then create a model. So if I click on Import Data File, I can go explore for that data. I have some data in my Downloads folder. What's pretty cool about SmartPLS 4 is that it can handle many different file types. CSV, TXT, .sav from SPSS, XLS from Excel, way better than in the past when we could only use .dat or .csv files. So I'm going to go down and select an SPSS file. Open. It's importing it. It's doing a careful screening of the data. One cool new feature about SmartPLS 4 is it now gives a type of scale to every variable. So for example, on ID, I could say that this is metric, ordinal, or categorical. This is just an ID, so I'll keep it metric. I'm not actually going to do any analyses with ID. But I happen to know that Q1 and Q2, etc. are ordinal, so I can select ordinal. Let me speed this up. Well, that took forever. I'm guessing in the future there will be a shortcut or some better guessing on the part of the software. So, we're just left with age, which is metric, it's just actual years in age. Gender, which is listed as binary. Marital status, which is categorical. And people in the household, which is metric. Years on the job, metric. Customer interactions, metric. Years in the firm, metric. Education, income. Education is categorical, income is actually ordinal, and job category as binary. Okay, now that those are all done, you can see this big yellow warning down below. It says we found missing values. In fact, we found 22 missing values. We're going to assume those empty values are missing. If in addition you have a missing marker value, sometimes people will put in something like -999 as a missing marker, then you can add that here. I don't have a missing marker, but if I did, I would put it right here and then hit Apply Marker. All right, then go to Import, and here is the view of your data. Notice it does some basic descriptive statistics on your data. Tells you the type that you specified, how many are missing for that variable, the mean, median, the minimum, the maximum that were possible on that scale, but then the actual minimum and actual maximum that were observed, standard deviation, kurtosis, skewness, and the Kramer-von Mises p-value, which is just a test of distributional normality, which I've never actually used, but I'm guessing is a lot like other normality tests, where a p-value less than your desired threshold, such as 0.05 or 0.1, means that it is departing from normality. However, it looks like all of my p-values are less than 0.05, and so I'm guessing this is pretty strict, just like the KNS or S&W tests. Regardless, here's a view of your data. And if you want to see how all of these variables are correlated, you can actually just click on Indicator Correlations, and it produces a massive correlation matrix, which if you wanted, you could copy out to Excel. Later on, I'll show you how to add groups or generate groups for a multi-group analysis. For now, I'll just show you one more thing here. And that is, if you think you made a mistake in your setup of the data, you can click on Setup, and you can go back and change any of these values and the min and max values, or apply your marker again. I'm just going to hit Cancel because I didn't make any changes, and then I'm going to hit Back to go back to my workspace. Just check that this data set is green. If it is green, that means it is ready to go. If it is not green, click on it to find out what might the problem be. In most cases, this should be green. Okay, next I'm going to create a model, and now I need to select a model type. Let me zoom in here. The model types are PLS-SEM, regression, or process, like the process macro for mediation in SPSS. For now, I'm going to select PLS-SEM, and I will name this YouTube model, and save, zoom out. And now you get your first look at the new interface for model design for SmartPLS 4. As before, we have our selector arrow, latent variable tool, connector tool, and then some new things like a quadratic effect, comments, and the Gaussian copula. I'm not actually sure what that is yet. So let's go create a basic model. I'm going to select a few variables over here on the left, such as satisfaction with work. I'm just going to hold Shift and click the next one, drag those out here, and it wants me to name these. So I'll name it SATW for satisfaction with work, hit enter, and it automatically creates a latent variable with those items. Let's bring out burnout for management. Name that burn M. Here's that. Notice it says there's some problems. I know you can't see that, it's too small, but right now the problem is this latent variable is not connected to any other latent variable, and so it won't run as part of a model. Let's just add one more variable real quick. How about ethical concerns, EC1 to EC5. Bring those out, call that ethical concerns, and now let's connect these. Just as before, we would click on the connect option and then drag from one variable to another. Let's see, I think ethical concerns will lead to burnout, and I think that burnout will lead to a drop in satisfaction with work. There's probably also a direct link between ethical concerns and satisfaction with work. Now, if I want to move these around, I need to go back to the selector tool as before in SmartPLS 3 and drag these around like so. The last thing we'll do in this video is go to Save and Calculate. Let me zoom in, and you can see there are several options. We can use our standard PLS-SEM algorithm. The consistent algorithms are also still available down here for models with all reflective constructs. For now, I'll just use the regular PLS algorithm. Let me zoom out and zoom back in. Basic settings as we had in SmartPLS 3 with path or factor. Right now I'll just use path. What type of results do I want to see? We now have the option to see standardized, unstandardized, or mean-centered. Previously we only received standardized. I'll keep it at standardized for now. Initial weighting scheme, just the default is fine. And start calculation. There we go. It outputs standardized regression weights on these paths just as before. It gives us the R² for endogenous factors. And if you hover over a variable, it lists important information, such as the R², R² adjusted, Cronbach's alpha, composite reliability, row A, and average variance extracted. Very handy. Well, that's it for this video. In subsequent videos, I'll show you some of the other options for analysis.